Testing, testing. Hello. Hopefully you guys can hear me loud and clear. Can you guys now hear me loud and clear? Uh-oh. Still no sound. Uh-oh. Nope. Okay, guys, I'm gonna have to reset. Yep, good. Thumbs up. Okay, I got a thumbs up, loud and clear. Okay, great. I had to delete my mic and re-put it on, and it worked. Again, button pushing mysteries. I don't know why, but it is working. Okay, we all saw that incredible knockout, Ngannou versus Miocic. What an incredible knockout. Supreme knockout. Thank you guys for the thumbs up. I hear you loud and clear. Thank you. What a knockout, man. And listen, after their first fight, I told you guys, I don't know if you guys remember on this channel, I told you guys, it is inevitable that Ngannou becomes world champion. It is inevitable that Ngannou becomes world champion. If Ngannou doesn't give up and keeps driving towards that title, I think personally, back then I was thinking it's inevitable. Why? Because he doesn't have to be the best boxer. He's so gifted with power. He doesn't have to be the best boxer to land one on your chin. Now, here's where I think Miocic made a massive mistake. Massive mistake in the fight. If you guys remember round one, Miocic didn't throw much. It was mainly Miocic kind of circling and trying to get this fight in later rounds, you know, being very patient, very cautious. Of course, he knows Ngannou's power is devastating. Anything can happen. He can get knocked out with a single shot. He was being very patient. And at one point, he shoots on Ngannou, tries to wrestle Ngannou to the ground, and Ngannou sprawls him, defends beautifully. And then Ngannou shoots into Miocic's legs. This is around the middle of round one, I would say. Okay, roughly around the middle. And Miocic sprawls him out, underhooks, and pushes him off. Miocic, in my opinion, Miocic should have let Ngannou take him down. I would have kind of semi-sprawled. Let the guy take you down. Let him wrestle. Let him grapple. Defend yourself on your back. Wrap him up. Tie him up. Let the first round go. You're not going to beat this guy in the first round. It's going to be very hard to beat Francis Ngannou in the first round. It's going to be very difficult. I think he should have wrestled Ngannou on the ground. Of course, hindsight is 20/20, but guys, believe me, if I tell you, if you're ever fighting a knockout puncher, like a guy with a devastating touch, the guy's got a touch of death, and he's trying to take you down, I'll be like, hey, grapple with him. It's better. Guillotine him, kimura him, tie him up, just put on a really tight guard around him. Do whatever it takes to get him in later rounds, because sometimes these powerful, explosive punchers, they go from 100 to 0 very quick. You'd be surprised. They're so gifted in one area and so cursed in another. They're so strong in one area and so weak in another. And then the third and fifth round, you may be like, third and fourth and fifth round, you might be like, hey, this guy's not really good. But wait, the first two rounds, he's so devastatingly good. If you only see his first two rounds in his career, you'd be like, oh, this guy's the best fighter ever. And then you see his later rounds, you're like, hey, this guy's pretty average or even mediocre. I think that was the one way Miocic could have won, is to allow that takedown. Let the fight go on the ground. Of course, he could also have gotten knocked out on the ground. He'd have to be really, really good off his back. He'd have to be very intelligent. Because let's not forget, guys, Ngannou's a lot bigger. Ngannou, I'm just guessing here, but I would say he was about 30 pounds, at least 30 pounds heavier. At least. I think Ngannou was cutting weight probably to 265, and Miocic, I'm guessing, was 240. Okay, don't quote me on that. At least it was 30. It was probably more like 50, 60 pounds. Okay, but if we're gonna be generous and say that's such a massive difference. It's such a massive difference in weight. I couldn't imagine getting beat up by a guy who weighs 50 pounds less than me. Think about it. That would be somebody who weighs around 120. He'd have to weigh 120, man. I'd be shocked if somebody who's walking around at 120 could throw me around, take me down, take my back, beat me up. I'd be shocked. I'd be like, that guy's the greatest fighter in the world. I'd be like, that guy's such a weight disadvantage. It's such a massive weight disadvantage. So I would have taken him. If I was in Miocic's corner, I would have begged him, let him take you down. If this guy and you know what's great is DC was saying, hey, that's a big mistake. Ngannou trying to take down Miocic. That's a big mistake. And you know what? Watch that fight. After the takedown attempt, maybe it's my imagination, but I felt like Ngannou needed a break. Ngannou needed a break. He was like a little bit shaky. He started going southpaw more. Why is he going southpaw? Because he wants to create a little bit more distance, catch his breath, doesn't want to exchange. And then he recharged in round two. Of course, round two didn't last very long. Miocic gets hit with a jab, a strong jab that knocks him back. Kind of creates a bit of a flurry. And Miocic lands a beautiful right hand, only to get hit by a left hook that we all saw. It was a short left hook, sweet, right on the money, right on the button. Beautifully executed by Ngannou, and that's all it took. It's a beautiful left hook. It was technically sound. Everything was proper. However, he's also blessed with a power. Ngannou is also blessed with incredible power. I think the correct play for Ngannou is defend his title once, twice, thrice, maybe, maximum 3 times, and then get a mega boxing fight. Get a mega boxing fight. I think that's probably what's in his future. Okay, guys, with that said, that is my assessment of the fight. I want to take a few. I won't spend too much time on this fight, okay? Because look, it's not that it was a great fight, but not that many things happened. It ended quite quickly, okay? And I got a bunch of messages from you guys on my post. I did a post earlier today asking you guys to give me suggestions for topics. I wasn't planning to do this fight because I felt it was such a short fight, so not much to cover on this fight, but let's do it anyway because it's fun. We'll do a short little review of the Ngannou-Miocic fight. An incredible fight, super entertaining, super amazing to watch. Just not a lot to break down because the fight was so short. And round one, it was mostly the guys feeling each other out. Okay, they were both being very careful. Let's not forget it was a heavyweight fight. Anything can happen. And Ngannou was, I have to say, also very patient. It wasn't as frantic as their first fight. Their first fight was much more frantic. This time we saw a much more calculated experience in Ngannou. Okay, so let's talk about Ngannou versus Miocic, and then we won't do it for too long, and then we'll skip to any other question, okay? Do you think Cyril Gane will be the future of the heavyweight division? That's from Velho. Velho, I want to stick to the fight, but I'm going to answer it because it was a super chat, but please, no more super chats on other topics for now. I think Cyril Gane is amazing. I think he's incredible. I think he will be fighting for the title. It's inevitable as well. Will he beat an Ngannou? As of yet, I don't think so. As of yet, I think Ngannou stands alone. Okay, here we go. What else we got here? I think Miocic shifted his weight wrong for that takedown. That's from NG Zooming. I don't really think so. It's tough. It's tough to take a big man like that down. I want you to go into a gym and take some tough MMA guy that's 50 pounds heavier than you and say, hey, can I put you up against the fence to try to take you down? I'm telling you, it's not easy. The weight differential is massive. Massive. Now, could somebody who's 50 pounds lighter than me take me down? Sure, maybe once, twice. Hold me down, impossible. No way. I've never been held down by somebody 50 pounds lighter than me. Never. Taken down, maybe if I'm not trying my best and the guy's a really great wrestler. He's been wrestling for a long, long time. And look, I've wrestled with so many great wrestlers, and that 50 pounds is a massive amount, even if the guy's a great wrestler. Yeah, even if he gets me down, so what? He's not going to be able to hold me down for long. Like, I'm going to pop back up to my feet. It's going to be hell. That's a 50-pound difference is massive. And we're not talking about an untrained individual here. We're talking about a highly trained individual that's 50 pounds heavier. It's an incredible difference. That's what. Well, I don't think that's why Ngannou was able to defend it. To be honest with you, I think he could have shifted his weight every which way, and Ngannou was going to defend it. There's a limit to what wrestling can do. There's a limit. I'm not saying that the man can't be taken down. It's just not easy to do, and to do it consistently will be very difficult. Miocic looked very stiff, less footwork than the first fight. That's from Alvaro. Alvaro, you know what? I'll be honest with you, I don't think he looked very stiff. I think he was playing a smart strategy. He just didn't wrestle enough. Now, that's really easier said than done. It's not always easy to get into the legs. The distance sometimes is great. The guy's staying, really far from you. He knows you want to grab onto him. I think his biggest mistake was not letting Miocic, not letting Ngannou take him down when Ngannou was trying. How would you beat Francis? That's from Daddy97. Wow, that's a very, very difficult question to ask. Look, if I'm fighting somebody that much bigger than me, I like low singles. Okay, I really like low singles, like shooting below the knee. Okay, kind of like what Khabib did to McGregor in their fight. Okay, he also did it to Ala Quinta. Okay, I think that's a really, really good way because it's so hard for them to, like, especially when they're hunting you down, they're trying to stalk you down. It's very hard for them to get out of the way. I like the Ryan Hall rolls. I think those are good. Again, those are things that really work in very specific circumstances, unless you're an expert in that, like Ryan is. Okay, but those kind of rolls I really like against bigger guys who are trying to knock my head off. I also like double leg with a Kosoto, like when you trip him, you're double legging him, but you're using your leg also to hook his leg. But I would really like the Imanari rolls, the Ryan Hall rolls. I think that their reaction is just not right usually. Like an Ngannou could get caught with that. However, the rest of the division might be really wise to that and harder to get because they're more mobile or whatnot. But Ngannou was standing southpaw, wide stance. You know, he was kind of like stalking. I would let him throw a heater at my head and I would just drop down probably and try to wrap up his ankles. You'd probably be surprised how easily some of these guys can get leg locked. But because they're not used to seeing leg locks in practice at all. So once they get a leg locker on them, it's just a leg locker leg locking him over and over again. Believe me, I've seen this. Okay, I've seen an elite fighter cross pass with a leg locker. Now in MMA, he would kill that leg locker because that leg locker is just a jiu-jitsu guy, let's say. But that leg locker would just get one sub after another, nonstop. Now subbing them upper body is not easy. Subbing their arm, subbing them in a Kimura arm lock or a triangle is not easy. They're so strong, they're so massive. Triangles are not always easy to do on guys who are so much bigger than you. However, it's weird. Leg locks are easier to do on bigger guys. Listen carefully what I'm telling you. Leg locks are sometimes really much easier on bigger guys than smaller guys. Maybe it's the foot, it's a greater lever or whatnot, but I'm telling you, you'd be surprised how many of these guys are very susceptible to leg locks. Okay, so especially if they haven't rolled with leg locks, you know, they're barely good at jiu-jitsu. They're good at like the basics of jiu-jitsu, the basics of wrestling. Leg locks are very sophisticated. They're very nuanced. There's a lot of details to leg locks. It's it's the more complicated part of jiu-jitsu. It's actually much more complicated than doing an armbar. Coach Stipe was even lighter than that. He was around 234. Well, there you go. It doesn't surprise me. You know, he has a limit of, I believe it's 265. What's the limit again? I think it's 265. Coach, were you surprised Francis didn't roll Imanari and heel hook Stipe? That's from Ro Jogan. Yes, that very much surprised me. Will there be an instructional on takedown, Coach? That's from Crush. Guys, check out jujiclub.com. My latest video, Guard Pass Prevention 2, is out. It's doing really well. Pick it up if you like. Put promo code GUARD5. It's right there on your screen. My next video is going to be on back control. When you get somebody's back, how to control them, how to make sure that they stay there and you stay on the back and you get that sub, okay, to make sure that you have total control of the back position. I think it's something that most people just don't know, but it's so important. The back position, in my opinion, is still the king of all controls. If I was in a fight with no time limit and you gave me the choice between leg locks and back control, I would take back control because the guy's not getting out of the back. Like, I'm going to hold him there for hours if I have to. It could take seconds or hours. I don't care. But I'm winning the fight. Like, the guy's not getting out. He's never going to leave this position. So it's a great video that's I filmed it already. I just got to edit it and you know, draw my little lines and stuff and voice it over. It should be out in about 2 weeks because I will be traveling. I have a couple of fights to travel for. I will be in Vegas very shortly, and I will be in the Bellator show this week. So I am traveling this week. However, good news also, Tristar Gym is open. We've opened. We are now training. The pro program is back on for all you guys who are in Canada and want to train MMA again. We are back open. The pro training is back open. Amateur training at night. Yes, there are some COVID protocols, but we are working around them, keeping training safe as much as possible, following all the protocols. But at least we're back in the gym and we are working. And of course, the pros during the day, we are doing special workouts for you guys to keep you in shape and ready for your fights. Tristar Gym is now open. Check out tristargym.com if you want to see the schedule. We are back on. I'm so happy, guys. I cannot tell you how happy I am to tell you all this great news. Tristar Gym was closed for 1 year. So now that we're back open, I will be able to film some more in-gym footage, training, sparring, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, boxing, Muay Thai. Look for that to come next month. Once my trip is over, I'm going to get back in the gym and start filming. I'm really excited about that. We have been closed for too long. The gym is back. Cannot be happier about that. Okay, so that's the Ngannou fight. That is the the big heavyweight fight. I thought it was great. Hats off to both men. It was a tough matchup for Miocic. Like I know he beat him the first time, but you could tell it was just he beat Ngannou because of inexperience. Ngannou has all the talent in the world. Ngannou has all the talent in the world. He may be the most talented individual, not the best. I'm not saying the most technical or anything, but the most raw talent. He could be the greatest raw talent that's ever walked into the octagon. Okay, here we go. Let's see. How do I check all those messages you guys sent me on YouTube? Hold on a second here. All right, Ngannou. Okay, my channel, community. Okay, here we go. All right, I posted for you guys to send me topics for this show. Some of you asked me to break down Ngannou's fight. I thought it was a great idea, so I did it. Can Askren beat Jake Paul? What do you think, Coach? One of the most creative wrestlers in MMA and tough mindset versus a 24-year-old who is learning boxing for the last 3 years. That's from Mayur Tomar. Well, Mayur, that's a great question. Okay, for those of you who don't know, this is a YouTuber. His name is Jake Paul, and he's fighting Ben Askren. Now, please put in the comment section, what are the rounds? How many rounds and what are the time limit? Is it 2-minute rounds or 3-minute rounds? And how many rounds is there? So Jake Paul is this famous YouTuber. He's hyping up a fight with Ben Askren. Ben Askren, of course, in an MMA fight would just maul him to death, just destroy him. But this is not an MMA fight. This is a boxing fight. This is a fight where no wrestling will be allowed. So it's 8 rounds. Thank you very much, Joan Kenneth. But how many minutes? I'm going to assume it's 2 minutes unless somebody says otherwise. 3 minutes. Wow, beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Look, I think Ben Askren wins. Here's why. Okay, I've seen Jake Paul's last fight. He knocked out some guy with a couple overhand rights, stunned him a few times, dropped him. But here's what Jake Paul is not sure. I don't think he knows what he's getting into. Number one, Ben Askren is a wrestler, yes, and his forte is not striking. We all know that. He's not the greatest striker. Okay? But he's been in there with killers. He's been in there with like legitimately dangerous human beings. One of them being Robbie Lawler, Douglas Lima. I can go on and on. The list is super long. Okay? He's been in there with the real killers. And I know he didn't use boxing, but he took shots from these guys. Okay, not every one of them got to lay a shot on him. But if you remember the fight with Robbie Lawler had him on the floor, had Ben Askren on the floor, and he laid into him some serious amount of damage. Pop, 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 4, 5, 6, 7 shots maybe. I can't remember. But it was some serious shots. And Ben Askren, never wavering, never panicking. Gets his under, gets back, locks up to Robbie, brings him down on the mat. Just keeps the computer is still working. He didn't panic. He's a true competitor. I don't know how many wrestling matches he has, but I'm sure it's in the hundreds. Okay, the guy was an Olympian. Don't forget, competition is his life. Okay, now if you ask a wrestler, hey, can you knit this for me? No, he doesn't know how to knit. Okay, but he has boxed before. I think two people are making too much of a big deal out of this. They're saying, oh, he's a wrestler, he's going into boxing. Yes, there's some truth to that, but don't forget, there's the other side of the coin. The man's been training MMA. He's not crazy. He's been learning how to strike. For let's call it 15 years he's been striking. Let's call it 10 years. Let's be very reserved here. It's not only boxing offense that's the issue. I can guarantee you he takes a shot better than Jake. I can guarantee you that. I guarantee you that right now. So Jake's going to go in there, and the first 2-3 rounds, he's going to start dancing around. He's going to jab Askren. He's going to look all right. He's going to look good. Askren's going to hit him back, and it's going to be a give and take. But here's what Jake doesn't know. Askren has proven he's got a credible chin. Okay? Now, I'm going to argue against myself in a second here. I'm going to play devil's advocate, but just give me a second, okay? Because I know there are a lot of good counterpoints. Ben Askren's going to maul him in the clinch. He's going to dirty box him. Ben Askren's going to get warned by the referee. And it ain't going to matter. The referee's going to try to break him up. And Ben Askren's always going to dirty box him. It's always going to be the same. What are they going to do? Disqualify Ben Askren? Hey, then you ruined the whole show. This is your co-main event or your main event. I'm not sure what it is. I'm assuming it's the main event. You're not going to end the main event. Everybody's paying to see these fights. Nobody's going to end the main event because of a little excessive clinching and dirty boxing. Now, you would do that with a fight that's not so important. That's something on the preliminaries, on the earlier card. But you'll never do that with the main event. You don't want to be the referee who disqualified a fighter for clinching, Okay, of course, if Ben Askren takes him down and chokes him out, okay, of course, then the referee would have no choice. But a little bit of dirty boxing, a little bit of bending the rules, we see it time and time again in main events. The referees, we talked about McGregor against Khabib. How many fouls did McGregor have in the first 2-3 rounds? Grabbing the shorts, putting his toes in the fence, repeatedly being told by the referee and just completely ignoring the referee, kneeing the down opponent, like just doing everything he wants. But what are you going to do? You're going to cancel the fight? There's about 1 million people around the world are going to be really upset. And don't forget the people in the stadium. Don't forget the people in the stadium. You're not that far away from them. They might climb over that gate. There's not enough security to protect you. Okay? So, I think Askren's going to rough him up. Askren's going to step on his feet. He's going to bump knee to knee. He's going to throw Jake Paul on the floor. He's going to pull on his head. Jake Paul ain't ready for this. In my opinion, he ain't ready for this. And then it's going to become a telephone booth fight. They're going to be Ben Askren is going to put him in a corner. He's going to shove him. He's going to maul him. He's going to push him. He's going to put his elbows in his face, in his chest, and he's just going to find him that way. I doubt Jake Paul picks Ben Askren apart from the outside. Just like jab, jab, stick and move, jab, jab, stick and move. That takes experience. Could happen, but that would be the best case scenario for Jake Paul. Okay, no, sorry. Best case scenario is Jake Paul lands a crazy right hand and knocks Ben Askren out. Now here's the counter argument to all this. If somebody out there said, yes, coach, Ben Askren has a great chin before he got knocked out by Masvidal. Yes, he had a great chin. We know that because Robbie Lawler laid in some serious shots and Ben Askren took him well and he kept fighting and he didn't look dazed, didn't look hurt. He just kept fighting. But did Masvidal ruin Ben Askren's career with that knee? Sometimes it takes one really bad KO. Now, I don't think so. Okay, I don't think so. No, you never know. Like if you tell me tomorrow and after a fight that if I see Jake Paul knock out Ben Askren with a jab, like a little fluffy jab, and I'll be like, okay, maybe he lost his chin. Maybe it's past. He's expired. His chin has expired. It does happen, guys. I've seen fighters with great chins, and one day they just take a small shot, and unfortunately, nobody knows the answer to that. Nobody knows the cure to these things, and not that I know of. Okay, and I've asked around. Okay, I've been around for many years. So I think, barring the exception that Askren's chin is finished, Askren's going to maul him. It's not going to be pretty. It's going to be a dirty fight. It's going to be like seesaw battle a little bit early on. And then all of a sudden, Jake's going to fatigue. And Ben Askren's going to be all over him. Is he going to get a TKO? Or is he just going to maul him, throw him on the floor, ragdoll him? Maybe he even picks up and slams Jake once, twice. It wouldn't surprise me, guys. It would not surprise me because Ben Askren probably doesn't have a clause that if he gets disqualified, he doesn't get paid. Okay? In my opinion, Ben Askren doesn't care if he gets disqualified. In my opinion, I don't want to talk for the man. I'm not saying he's looking to get disqualified, but if he picked up and slammed Jake on his head, I don't think he'd be like, why did I teach him a lesson? No, I think Ben Askren's the type of guy, he's going to teach him a lesson. He's going to pull on his head. He's going to step on his feet. He's going to step on his feet. He's going to step on his feet and shove him and like off balance him. It's going to be a mauling, especially if that ring is small. Now, when I saw Mike Tyson fight Roy Jones Jr., the ring was a lot smaller than I thought. I cannot believe that Roy Jones Jr.'s team would allow Roy Jones to fight Mike Tyson in such a small ring. It was very unprofessional for two high caliber fighters to fight in such a small ring. I think it was great for Mike Tyson. But if I was coaching and managing Roy Jones Jr., I would have never allowed such a small ring. Never, not in a million years. I would be like, guys, add another 5 feet to that ring. At least. But if that ring is very small, if it's the same ring Tyson fought Roy Jones Jr. in, and from what I understand, it's the same organization, I don't know. I really think that it's going to make Jake Paul's job a lot harder. How is he going to pick and poke, stick and move, and stay away from Askren? Once they lock up, guys, once they lock up, I guarantee you Jake's battery is going to start to drain. I know Jake wrestled. I've seen his videos. I've seen he wrestled back in the day. Guys, it doesn't matter. It's just going to be more fun for Ben. That's what I got, guys. I think Ben's going to win. Unless he gets hit with a freak shot and he gets knocked out because his chin is bad. I would still say, look, that's a Masvidal. Masvidal won that fight for Jake Paul. I doubt it, though. I think his chin is going to be fine and he's going to maul him. Okay. We got some super chats. Will Oliveira versus Chandler be the fight of the year? That's from Kenneth Booker. Could be. You know what? Could very well be. Coach, can you offer any BJJ advice for moves and takedowns for long, lanky fighters? Thanks. That's from Lanky Vegan. Listen, you just got to learn wrestling and maybe incorporate a little bit more judo. If you're long and lanky, you get a lot of nice trips, you know, because you got those that reach. Okay, Coach, what do you make about Abu Azaita's mouthguard issue in the third round? And do you believe the ref should have stopped the fight earlier? That's from Dan. Yes, I saw that fight. Okay, I worked with Abu before for this fight. I worked with it for a couple of days. I think the referee made a mistake. Now, I know Jared. Jared is a great referee. He's one of the best in the game. But he made an error, and I watched the tape again, okay, because Azaita goes to pick up the mouthpiece, which he shouldn't have. He puts it back in his mouth. But if you watch that video, okay, and I know both these fighters very well. I know his opponent very well. I've also trained his opponent, Barrio, Marc-André Barrio. I've trained with him. I know him very well. Maybe not on purpose, okay, but his hand was in Abu's face and mouth, and he put it's very hard to see if you haven't watched thousands of fights and you don't rewatch it closely. But please go watch that video again. Marc-André takes Abu Azaita's mouthpiece out, like he fishes it out, like his hand was in his mouth. He was pushing Abu Zaita away, and he kind of pulled the mouthpiece out with his hand. Okay, but his fingers were definitely in Abu Zaita's mouth. Okay, this is what we call fish hooking. It's illegal. It's done accidentally sometimes, and it didn't seem unintentional, but it shouldn't be. His fingers had no business being there. Okay, it should have been under here or on the cheekbone. His fingers should stay out of the mouth at all times. Okay. He pulled Abu Azaita's mouthpiece out. Now Abu Azaita picks it up, puts it in. As the referee's running to interject, he trips Abu Zaita. He goes to put his hands on Abu Zaita, and from what I saw in the video, it was very quick. Okay, again. He kind of trips Abu Zaita. Again, you have to watch this fight. It was the first fight on the card. Rewatch this fight. I'm telling you, if now that I told you this, when you watch the fight, you will see it. You'll be able to see it. He trips Abu. His leg makes contact with Abu. But then again, when I watched it, I didn't see how much contact it was. Okay, it's kind of hard to tell. Very hard to tell. Was it the trip? Was Abu going to fall anyway? Was it the referee putting his hand on him and kind of like, not purposely tripping, their legs bumped into each other, and Abu falls backwards. Now, Marc-André gets on top of him. The mouthpiece, Abu at that point had picked up the mouthpiece and put it back in. And again, the mouthpiece comes out. Then the referee stops it. So the mouthpiece came out twice in just like a minute, not even a few seconds. It's a tough thing to do. Listen, mistakes happen. When you're fighting in there, you got to protect yourself at all times, and you got to expect these kind of things. It does happen. Referees make mistakes. Absolutely, but they're human, and you have to understand reffing is a very difficult job. Reffing is an extremely, extremely difficult job. Guys, I'm telling you, I've done a little bit of reffing for amateur fights and stuff. Man, you miss stuff, man. It's just things are happening at a millisecond. You know, you have to pay attention nonstop. And then there's something happening over here. And then as you're paying attention to that, something happened over there. You know, it's like all of a sudden. Because fighters in there, guys, they move really quick. Like, you know, sometimes when my fighters are sparring, I'll get in the ring with them. And I'll kind of coach them, but I'm standing in the ring, and sometimes I got to circle when they're coming my way, and it's really quick, man. Things happen really quick. Anyways, referees are human. There are some errors. Was that a referee error? It was one that could have altered the fight. Now, in my opinion, it was an acceptable. I'm not even sure if the referee made contact with the leg. From the video camera, it's hard to see, but it does look like there's a contact between both their legs, and Azaita falls backwards. Now, if that happens, the referee should stop the action, stand them back up, because the referee should not obviously be doing takedowns, obviously. But it can happen. A fighter trips over the referee. It does happen. I'm not thinking of a particular instance for now, but I've seen it for certain. Okay? Fighters fighting and he trips over the referee. I've seen fighters knock out referees accidentally. Accidentally. Throwing a punch, the referee, the horn rings and referee. It's never happened in UFC, okay? But in boxing, definitely. The bell rings and the referee goes into break and boom, gets hit. Okay? It does happen. Definitely happens. Unintentional knockouts. So, if you make a mistake, you have to stop, start in a neutral position, start the fight again. That's what was the issue with that fight. But at the end, as a fighter, you got to protect yourself at all times. If you drop your mouthpiece, you shouldn't bend it over and pick it up. This is a mistake. Okay? Now, if you fall and you're tripped by the referee, there's nothing you can do about it. You just got to keep fighting. In my opinion, this is what you got to do. You got to accept that these kind of mistakes are going to happen. Coach, what the hell was going on with Francis? The man seemed like he leveled up unimaginably. That's from Top Bloke. Top Bloke. I wouldn't say, I think it was inevitable, man. I think it was inevitable that he was going to get this good. Because he's learning. Don't forget, he's learning. He's got a lot of, and Ngannou's got a lot to gain. He's come from a very poor background. He's got a lot to gain. Why wouldn't he work hard? Why wouldn't he work around the clock to get this good? So this is my opinion. It's not surprising at all. Plus, he's working with some great trainers, of course. Ben will get KO'd. That's from the Doberman. I highly doubt that, man. It could happen, but I just don't see it. Should UFC make a super heavyweight division? Wow, that would be amazing. Honestly, I think they should. We'd have some crazy fights. Maybe they wouldn't be happening often, but they would be crazy. There's something else in the news. Hold on one second here. I saw this in the news, guys, and it really broke my heart. I don't know what to tell you. This is really over-the-top insanity. One of my good friends sent me this. I don't know if you guys can hear this. I won't. Uh-oh. Okay, here it is. Uh-oh. It was pulled. Now they're talking about, I got this, and guys, and I think, oh no, hold on a second. I think the world has become insane. Here it is. This is, you guys can hear this? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear this.
Having a baby used to be a straightforward proposition. You could have a boy or you could have a girl. But now there's a third option. It's called steep civilizational decline. A handful of parents across America are deliberately keeping their children's sex hidden and instead raising so-called babies. The idea is that only the children themselves should be able to decide whether they are boys or girls.
Let your little babies decide whether they want to be a boy or a girl. This is it, guys. The world has ended. The apocalypse has now started. I'm officially, with COVID and now babies, they want you to call your kid a baby. Not a he, not a she, but a baby. Yes, they're here now. If you guys want to see what's going to happen in the West 10 years from now or 5 years from now, always look at the Scandinavian countries. Now, I love the Scandinavian countries. I love them, but they're very progressive. That could be good or bad. I think there is good, and I think there is bad in being progressive. But they have something called hen, where, okay, you bring your kid to school and you say, my child is a hen. So he's gender neutral. He or she, I shouldn't even say he's gender neutral. The child is gender neutral. Now, I'm going to relate this to martial arts. I think martial arts is very important in curing this kind of thinking, okay? I'm going to talk about this. This is a very serious topic. They call them hen. Now it's in the West. Okay, here it is. I knew it was coming in the West. I knew it. If it's in Scandinavia, it's coming in the West. I guarantee you. I was telling people, oh, don't worry. They're going to come. They're just using a different term. They're not using hen. They're using babies. Okay? Now, I know a lot of people are going to explode here in the comment section. But here's how I believe martial arts can help cure all this. Okay? But let's listen a little bit more because this gets a little crazy.
Reality getting in the way. It's all very confusing, like a lot of 2018 is. So, of course, we called in our interpreter of all things progressive, our liberal Sherpa, Kathy Aru, founding publisher of Catalina Magazine. She joins us tonight. So, Kathy, goes without saying you're for this, of course.
Yep.
But doesn't this mean if you're going to raise a baby, how would you be able to change your child's diaper? Because the second you change the diaper, of course, you'd no longer be able to pretend that there was a question about whether this was a boy or a girl. You would know.
Well, it's not about pretending. The parent definitely knows the gender. It's about not necessarily labeling the baby. It's about allowing the baby to decide what gender that baby wants to be when that baby can decide, which is around 4 years old. So from 0 to 4, the baby will not be labeled. The labeling theory will not apply from 0 to 4 years old. The baby will be a baby, neither a boy nor a girl. Whatever gender that baby chooses to be.
What other profound life decisions do we think people ought to be making at the age of 4? Are there any others?
Well,
Whether to get a tattoo, whether to get married, enlisting in the military, voting, drinking vodka, smoking Marlboro Reds. Is there anything else that we think 4-year-olds are ready to decide?
This isn't actually a profound life decision. I mean, biologically, there's nothing really going on from 0 to 4 in that area that affects a person's life. Biologically.
Guys, whoever knows this woman. Oh my God, whoever. God, should I even call her a woman? Is she allowed to be called woman? Guys, this is insanity. Now they're encouraging your children. They're encouraging people to tell their children nothing about their gender and allow the child to decide at the age of 4 whether he wants to play with, whether that child, the baby, wants to play with trucks or dolls. Now, I want to tell you guys something. There is a difference between sex and gender. This is their argument. I want to steel man their argument. Okay, this is now we're in the philosophy section. We're in the philosophy portion of this episode. Okay. In philosophy, we call things we sometimes refer to a fallacy as a straw man fallacy. Okay, what's a straw man fallacy? Straw man fallacy is, hey, you're not actually arguing against my position. You've erected a straw man. You know those scarecrows that farmers put in the field. And you're beating that up. It's such an easy thing to beat up. You're putting up a decoy argument. So let's say, for instance, I were to say, Cindy is a bad driver. And then you're like, for us, coach, you think all women are bad drivers? That's so sexist of you. And you start going on a rant about why women are not bad drivers and they could be just as good as men. And I'm like, hey, wait a second. Excuse me, sir. You just straw-manned me. You presupposed that I said all women. I didn't say, you assumed I meant all women. I just said Cindy. I never said all women. Just because Cindy so happens to be a woman doesn't mean I think all women are bad drivers. I just think Cindy is a bad driver, this particular person. So if I say Cindy's a bad driver, and then you're like, in your mind, you're like, oh, this must be a sexist comment. This guy's obviously, he's Lebanese origins, Middle East origins, so he must think women are bad drivers. Therefore, oh my goodness, he must be. And then you make up a straw man. You attack a position I never took. This is called straw manning. Now, the inverse is that we say steel manning. I so understand your position. I could reiterate it to you that you say, you know what, that's my exact position. Once I've understood your position, then I begin to deconstruct it. This is called steel manning. I'm honestly, somebody who steel mans your position is giving you the benefit of the doubt. This is what you meant. I'm not trying to twist your words. I'm trying to take your words as they are. Okay. So let's steel man this woman's position, because this woman, in my opinion, she's totally insane. She's totally insane. And I think this is a lack of, believe it or not, I'm going to argue this later. She has no physical training at all. She has no training in the real world. Okay, she's living in a internet world where there's no consequences for making mistakes. Yeah, we'll talk about this in a little bit, what I mean by that. But let's steel man her argument. Look, these gender neutral people, they're saying, look, there's sex. You either have a penis or a vagina. And then there's gender. Gender is different, guys. Gender is totally different. Gender is how you feel. It's your mind. It's your psyche. Okay, now imagine this. Imagine, does the male brain and the female brain, do they have characteristics? Do they have different characteristics? If I were to show a brain surgeon 100 brains, 50 of them being female brains, 50 of them being male brains, but I show them to him and I mix them up, okay? I mix them up and he doesn't know. He doesn't have any label. Could he pick out the male brains? I would tell you, yes, he could. He could with a small margin of error. Some women are going to have manly-like brains, and some men are going to have female-like brains. But the vast majority of brains are going to say, look, this is a male brain, slightly bigger. No offense, ladies, but the male brain is slightly bigger. That's going to be one telltale sign. He's going to say, look, these are male brains. These have the characteristics of male brains. Like, for instance, male hands, okay? Could you tell the difference between a man's hands and a female's hands? Yes, you could. Yes, you could. When we were in Thailand and there was a lot of beautiful girls, they were like, hey, guys, always check the hands. Always check the foot. You know, if you fall in love with a girl, you never know. She could be a lady boy, as they call it. Always check the hands. Always check the foot. Double check. Because that's the one thing they can't fix. Now, this is what they used to say, because there's a lot of transvestite in Thailand. Lots of transvestites. Can you tell the difference? Yes. In general, yes. Now, what if somebody were to be born with a female body, but her brain is the characteristics of her brain are very masculine? She has all the characteristics of a masculine brain. So it's very possible that she could say, now, look, my sex is female, but my gender, listen carefully now. I'm not saying I agree with this. I'm just saying that it's their argument. We're trying to understand their argument, okay? Because a lot of people just dismiss the argument and say, look, you look in your pants, you're either a boy or a girl. That's it, done. And they're like, hey, you just really don't understand us. We agree that if you have male genitalia, your sex is male. That's what they would tell you. But that doesn't mean anything about your gender. You could have male genitalia and associate with being a female. Why? Because maybe you have the heart or brain or lungs or liver of a female. Or maybe you don't have none of that. It's just you associate with being female. Why? Maybe your heroes were female. Maybe you grew up, I don't know, in a house full of women, and all of a sudden you feel like you belong to this group, this flock of feathers. This is their argument, guys. Please don't mistake this for my argument. Don't misquote me. Don't misquote me, okay? So they're telling you, look, just because you're physically female doesn't mean the software has to be female. Okay, is that true? Whew, I hate to say this, guys, but logically speaking, if we agree to the definition that gender is purely psychological, then yes, they're correct. Now, I'm not endorsing it. I'm not, believe me, I believe I raise my boys as boys and I raise my girls as girls, okay? So don't need to send me 1,000 emails telling me about the virtues of for men being men. I'm all about that. I'm all about men should be men. Not overly toxic, but men. Women should be women. Different but the same. Different in some ways, but equal in value. Okay? I'm with you on that. I have that traditional worldview. However, they're not logically inconsistent if they define gender as purely psychological. Now, most of us, when we talk about gender, we're talking about Franks and beans. We're talking about jewels. We're talking about genitalia. We're talking about men and women. The physical part. But that's not what they're talking about. So you guys, when you argue with these people, when you talk, you have to understand they're talking about purely psychological. Purely. Now, they want to extend it. You know, I always tell my sons, I used to tell my sons, I remember one time they had this whole thing at school where everybody had to dress in pink because they were promoting transgender, and they were having this promotion. I don't know what it was. I told my wife, look, don't dress them in pink. Dress them like normal. If asked why they don't participate, say, look, we're neutral. We're not trying to promote you. We're not trying to attack you. We have nothing. We have no comment on you. We have no comment. If your kids want to be gay, that's their business. If you want to be gay, that's your business. Like my son came up to me and said, hey, my friend has 2 moms. I said, oh, some people have 2 moms. Some people have 2 dads. I told him, look, there are people out there in the world that are gay. It exists. But I always tell my kids, don't get involved. If the young boys in your school don't like women, then there's just more women for you. That's it. Don't associate yourself with their lifestyle. We have a different lifestyle. They have their lifestyle. Now, why am I so close-minded, barbaric, and traditional? And a lot of you guys are going to see it that way. And I'm going to tell you why this is so difficult for me to swallow, this kind of theybies thing. Because don't forget, we don't want to say that they're logically inconsistent. Because you're barking up the wrong tree. You'll never convince them that gender is anything but psychological. That's why they say it's a social construct. They're not saying, hey, you have a penis and testicles, that's a social construct. They're not saying they see the same anatomy as you. They say, look, we agree. Your sex is male. They're saying, what is your gender? Gender to them is software, guys. That's it. You can run Mac software on a PC. That's what they're telling you. Okay? My approach to this is this, okay? What's the most important thing? Well, my number one thing in life, my number one thing in this world for me is to see my family succeed, like my kids. I'm not trying to say I want to make them living like a lavish lifestyle. That's not what I'm saying. I want to see my family grow and survive. So I had kids. I sacrificed for my kids. My parents sacrificed for me. I want my kids to have kids, and they sacrifice for their kids. So the chain continues. You know, we have thousands and thousands of years of Zahabi family tree to draw from. If I start telling my sons, hey, you're born with a male genitalia, but you could also be a girl if you like, then I'm not only shooting myself in the foot for all the sacrifice I did so my son can continue on the progeny, I'm also shooting all my ancestors in the foot because we've all sacrificed for this family chain, this progeny, this family tree to keep growing. You know, we're sacrificing the greater good. Guys, I could have done a lot of things. I could have been traveling around the world and I've never come home to see my kids, you know. But I didn't. I put my family first. If you're a family first individual like me, families first and then the individual. So if it comes to the needs of my family or myself, family wins. If it comes to the needs of my family or my wife, family wins. If it comes to the needs of my family or one particular member of the family, I pick family as a whole. Okay, so this is how the hierarchy works in my mind. If your hierarchy is like me, you're very anti-babies. You think babies is lunacy. You think babies, not telling your children, teaching them what sex they are early on, is pure lunacy. Why? Because you have a high chance of destroying your progeny. High chance. Why? For what reason? They could have been just as happy being male. They were born with male genitalia. Why on earth would you gamble with that? They were born already male. They were already born thinking to be male. They were very comfortable with being male. They have everything they need to have in their system to be male. It was just such a, you just put them through a period of confusion. And many of these young males will do all sorts of crazy things like take hormones or whatnot to avoid being very masculine, puberty blockers, etc. And then later on regret it. I promise you. I promise you, you are destroying your own progeny. This is my advice to you all. Do as you wish. Okay, if I see you guys destroying your progeny, I'm going to say, look, that is your business. It's not my business. That's your progeny, not my progeny. But when it comes to my progeny, believe you me, I am cultivating Zahabis that will continue the chain. Because, in my opinion, this kind of lady who's coming in and with her propaganda, she's just basically destroying. Don't ever tell me immigrants are an issue. Don't ever tell me immigrants are an issue. There's a reason why Canada brings in immigrants. Why? My father came here as a refugee, actually. Okay, he came in here and listen, the amount we pay out for services to bring in refugees and immigrants is vastly returned by taxes. My father pays taxes. I pay taxes. We all pay taxes. We're a gigantic family. There's so many Zahabis. I have a huge family. And we all pay taxes. Believe me, the Canadian government, he made a positive with us. He's making money with immigrating us. Okay, he brought us into the country. We're law-abiding. We're not criminals. We don't do anything illegal. And guess what? We pay taxes. And we're happy to pay taxes because we're happy to be in this country. We love this country. We didn't invade this country. We didn't take over this country. We didn't abuse this country. We love this country. We're all law-abiding citizens. We haven't cheated. We don't lie. We don't cheat. We don't steal. We've been good to this country. And we pay taxes. We're happy to pay taxes. This country had immigration. And the reason why there's so much immigration is because Canada needs population. Now, if the natives of this country don't reproduce because they grew up thinking they're babies, they were confused at an early time. Guys, when you're young, when you're before the age of 4, I can implement anything in your mind. Your mind is so highly fertile. I can make you a girl. I can make you a boy. I can plant anything I want in your mind. Why would I not want to implant exactly what you're built for? So there's a harmony. So when you look in the mirror, you're like, hey, my physique and my psyche are harmonious. But if you grow up and always having this conflict, you look in the mirror, your psyche's telling you one thing, but reality's telling you another. you're going to have this conflict inside you. And that's why, in my opinion, a great contributor to why so many transgenders are suicidal. Yes, of course, they're also ostracized by their community. They're often picked on. And they're a minority because there's so few of them. They have few people to relate with. So few people are going through the same thing as them. I remember listening to that the guy who was on the Kardashians. I forget his name. The guy who turned himself into a woman. I forget his name. What's his name again? The guy he won gold at the Olympics here in Montreal. What's his name? He was on the Kardashian show. He wasn't the father of the Kardashians, but he married the mother after. What's his name again? I want to say Jenner. What's it? Bruce Jenner. Thank you. Ben77 comes out with the name Bruce Jenner. You know your transvestites, my friend. Bravo. Very good. I remember that guy talking about, hey, you know why I won an Olympic medal? He was saying in an interview, because I wanted to do the most manliest thing. I wanted to prove to everybody that I wanted to prove to myself I was a man. Because when he would look in the mirror, he would see a woman. He'd feel like a woman, but his body was a man. And then he said, look, I'm going to do the toughest thing. I'm going to win a marathon. I'm going to be tough. I'm going to be this manly man. And he said, look, I still couldn't shake it. That guy, listen, his story, my heart goes out to him. Now, if he was my good friend, I would tell him, look, don't do it. I'd be like, don't do it, man. Like, do anything but this. He did it, but my heart goes out to him because when I look into the mirror, I see a man and I feel like I'm a man. So I'm very grateful. Thank God I have this harmony. My psyche and my physique go together. But why tamper with that with a healthy child? Why tamper with that? This lady she is the epitome of stupidity. And I hate name calling. Okay, you guys know me. I never call names. I hate it. I dislike it. I'm even regretting what I just said. But this lady is saying something so absurd, so dumb. She wants us to make it a norm, to risk and chance something that has been working for thousands of years. We trained boys to be boys, or we trained girls to be girls, and guess what? They reproduced for generation after generation. These are the first generations that are not reproducing. Today, marriage is on the decline and divorce is on the rise. There's more divorce than ever and there's less marriage. What does that tell you? That means we're dysfunctional as couples. In the West here, we are dysfunctional. This lady's throwing another degree of difficulty. Not only will this guy now, a young boy, will not know whether he's a boy or a girl. He's also going to have to tread into the Western civilization's dating world. This is going to be extra complicated now. Extra complicated. How does martial arts fix all this? Well, I'll tell you something. This woman talking now, I can hear her when she talks. These are not people. These are probably. I wouldn't surprise me if she was educated in university. It wouldn't surprise me. But she wouldn't be educated in the hard sciences. She's not an engineer. I guarantee you, I haven't looked at her background, but I guarantee you she's no engineer. She's no physicist. She's not in the medical world. She's nothing like this. She's in the soft sciences. She's in the soft sciences where if you argue good enough, you'll get by. You never have to be truly objective. You never have to be truly logical. You can just kind of like, how do I say it without getting too much blowback? You can kind of BS your way through a degree. You never have to say anything truly concrete. And I'll tell you something, guys. Universities have changed. Universities are not dumb. Think about it. Imagine I was running a university, and I was running a very strict university where if you got the wrong answer, man, too bad, you fail. And the pass rate was 25%. 25% sign up, graduate. You wouldn't be making a lot of money. Let me tell you why. Because people are like, you know what? I want to go to university, but I doubt if I have enough brains. Why? Because only 25% pass. Now imagine you run a university and 95% of your students graduate. Well, you'd be like, hey, you know what? If I go to university, it's very likely that I get my degree. How much does it cost? Let's say $100,000. Okay, let's do it. It's worth it. They're making money nowadays. Universities are not what they used to be. Universities used to be about elite thinkers, elite minds. Now today, university is about, hey, go in one of the soft sciences, pay us, show up to class, do your best, and we'll give you this piece of paper. And you can go tell people you're a smart person. However, in the hard sciences, it doesn't work like that, okay? In the hard sciences, if your answer is wrong, guys, you're screwed, okay? But you can get a university degree and not be the smartest person. I've come across guys listen, I've come across people with PhDs. And they weren't so bright. They didn't wow me. Let's just say they did not wow me. And I'm like, you know what? I know people who have graduated in psychology. And when I talk to them about psychology, I'm like, I'm not really impressed with what they know. I even know more. I didn't even major in psychology, and I know more about psychology than you. I can better reiterate ideas in psychology that they should know. They should run circles around me. Universities are watered down. The soft sciences, this is what you get. Now, if you were trained in martial arts, like real martial arts, boxing, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, like you can't BS. You can't do this kind of stuff. Like if you come in with some kind of, because why am I saying this, guys? Because I'm telling you, like, martial arts has been through this. Martial arts has gone through the BS, like this super elite martial artist superhero who could touch you and kill you. We've been through that. How do we do it? We tested it. Okay, get him on the mat. Let's see if he can do it. And then he can't. Jiu-jitsu, wrestling, boxing is so important. You know why? Because you could BS all you want. At the end of the day, we have to glove up. We got to roll. What happens when we roll? All your BS, man, flies out the window. I remember once upon a time, I was wrestling with this blue belt, okay? And I hope he's listening. He's an old student of mine. He's learned his lesson, okay? But years ago, this guy came in and he was just full of himself. Like I'm telling you, so full of himself. Like it's incredible how much he could talk about himself. And he was just a blue belt. And he had won a blue belt tournament, and he was telling me he was the greatest blue belt in the world and this and that. I'm like, okay, come train with me, man. Come glove up. And he's also a striker. He's a wrestler, and he's amazing. And he's so good. He's so good. He's so good. He kept telling me how good he is. And I was like, okay, let's wrestle. Let's come train with me. So we ended up rolling. Okay, now don't forget, I'm a black belt at this time, and I've been black belt for a long time. And this is years ago. This is like 7-8 years ago. Okay? And I'm rolling with him. And I'm just subbing him, taking him down. I'm just killing him. I'm just like crushing him. And I'm doing it nicely. I haven't injured him. I just leg lock him. Okay, get back up, take him down, take his back, choke him. I'm just kind of, he's a blue belt. He's a good blue belt. He's got a long ways to go, but he's got potential. After the training, he came up to me. He was bewildered. He was like, wow, I can't believe what happened. I can't believe you were able to get me. I was like, yeah, but I used to be a blue belt, and black belts used to kill me. Okay, so you have to understand this. Like, I had the same experience as him without telling myself I was so great. When I first rolled with a black belt, I got destroyed, killed. Like it was just a picnic for the other guy. And I was amazed with jiu-jitsu. Actually, the first time I rolled in my life, I rolled with a blue belt and I just got killed and I couldn't believe it. And then when I first met a black belt, I was a blue belt. Later, the first time I ever rolled with a black belt, I was a blue belt. So first time I ever rolled, I rolled with a blue belt, I got killed. And then I got to a blue belt level. I thought it was pretty good. And then I rolled with a black belt and I just got killed again. And I was a total beginner. He had the same experience, which so many of us do in jiu-jitsu, right? You go into jiu-jitsu and you don't know what to expect, and then you get armbarred. You're like, wow, what is that armbar? Like, it's a great experience, right? But he was so bewildered because he thought it was going to be like a very close match, and he just didn't have that reality check. And then after that, of course, he slowly became more and more humble and started to realize he has a long journey. And he got up to, I think, purple belt before he stopped. But this woman here talking, she hasn't had that experience where life kind of slaps you in the face, gives you that reality check, where no matter how much BS you give us, no matter how much fancy talk you get, at the end of the day, you got to glove up, you got to roll, you got to get in there and let the world tell us how good you are, how right you are. This woman's ideas would be so disastrous to Western civilization. They would be so disastrous. Getting a Westerner and a male and female Westerner to have 2.8 children and successfully have those children raised and not divorced till those children are out of the house is so difficult for Western civilization. It's so complicated with the amount of power that feminism has today. It makes it almost nearly impossible to marry a Western woman, Western man and a Western woman, be married, have 3 children, because you need 2.8 children to reproduce to continue your civilization. Now, Western civilization is kind of plateaued, and there's always going to be Westerners in the world. Like, they're not going anywhere. There's more white people than ever. I'm not trying to be alarmist here, okay? I don't think white people are ever going away. I don't think that anybody's ever going away. I think all races and cultures are going to last for a long time, and they're going to evolve and morph into other cultures, just like our cultures today have morphed from all sorts of civilizations of the past. But my point being is this. is this woman. Her ideas are so disastrous. I hope that they're cross-examined, mocked, ridiculed. This is the worst idea. Babies is the worst idea. I think even twerking. I thought twerking was a bad idea. Babies is far worse. Far worse. But anyways, I don't know how long I ranted. Maybe it was good. For sure, it was too long. But guys, I'm gonna open up to comments and questions about this issue. But what I was telling myself is this woman. She's exactly like those mythical martial artists we used to have, who thought they had such great ideas until we put them in the ring, and they found out that it was pure buffoonery. It was pure buffoonery. Twerking is worse than babies. No, babies. Miss Fourchin. This is from babies is far worse an idea than twerking. Far worse. Coach, what are your thoughts about the global goals? I don't know what that is. I have no idea. Okay, go. Okay, guys. There's over 1,000 people in the chat room. Give me your babies comments, guys. Please. Love your rant, Coach. Thank you, Raymond Vinnis. I think I said it all. I think we're harmonious. I'm glad to see there's not too much objection in the chat room. Okay, guys, I'm going to open it up to other things. Okay, here we go. Salam, Coach. My legs lack endurance when I run even 2 miles. Any tips? Also, what's an email address to contact you, brother? Zishan, I get too many emails already, brother. So, unfortunately, my emails is flooded. I can't even give that out again. I did it last episode. It was a mistake. I get so many emails already. Listen, you got to train your legs like everything. I believe in rowing, running, aerodyning, plyometrics. Just learn different exercises that you can use on your legs and go about 80%. Never go 100% and be consistent. Train your leg consistently. And I promise you your legs will adapt. Next one is from Alex. I'm writing on a study about the use of hypnosis in combat sports, i.e. boxing with Castamara Mike. What are your view on use of hypnosis in sports? That's from Alex. Okay. It was a little bit to read some grammatical errors, but I'm going to reiterate your question. He's saying, look, I'm writing a paper on hypnosis. And Castamara used to use hypnosis on Mike Tyson. Why did he use hypnosis on Mike Tyson? Many of you might not know that Mike Tyson, it is said about Mike Tyson that he used to cry in the locker room. He used to have breakdowns in the locker room before walking out to his fight. On fight night, Mike Tyson was so scared of fighting. He used to beg Castamara to cancel the fight. He used to cry. Now, it's hard to believe because when you see him fight, the fight would be ended in a minute or two. With Mike Tyson barely ever taking a punch and just knocking his opponents out silly, and you'd be like, hey, why wouldn't this guy want to box? He's the most talented boxer ever, arguably. And now you're telling me, Coach, that he used to cry in the locker room. Yes, this is what they say about Mike Tyson. And I believe he's come out and said it himself. They say he used to cry in the locker room. He was too scared to go out there and box. What did they do? They used hypnosis on him. Now, does hypnosis work? Well, I believe it works. And there is research, guys. There are studies on memory where they show you a bunch of objects to remember, and then they ask you to remember them. You write them down, and let's say you score 60%. Then they hypnotize you. Rerun the experiment, and now people will score 75, 80%. There will be an upgrade. Yes. So I do believe in hypnosis. I don't think you have to use the actual hypnosis method. The hypnosis method is there's an induction period where we kind of put you to sleep a little bit. You know, they give you that you're walking down a staircase. They calm you down. And then they give you suggestion. I think it's just really, you could do this to yourself. It's even easier. Because the thing is, nobody can actually brainwash you, hypnotize you. It's not true that you can hypnotize someone and make them cluck like chicken. It's not true. Believe me, there are many studies on this. It's never been proven that I can force you, hypnotize you to commit a crime. You know, sometimes TV shows will be like, hey, this guy comes out in bright daylight, takes a gun and shoots somebody, kills him. And then he's found not guilty. Why? Because he was hypnotized to do it. And therefore the judge says, hey, it wasn't his will. Of course, that's just fiction. You cannot hypnotize somebody to do something so grotesque. You cannot. Okay? There's no study that ever showed that, ever proved that. So as far as we know, you cannot. However, you can help somebody quit smoking. You can help somebody have more endurance. You can help somebody have more imagination, creativity if you help them train their mind. That's what hypnosis is. It's helping you train the mind. That's how I see it. I feel that if I focus every day on my goals, if I focus every day on visualizing my goals, if I focus every day on preparing myself to do my best, just that mental aspect, that daily mental training is going to do just as much as hypnosis does. I don't need a third party. I don't need somebody out there to come and hypnotize me. Okay, so I believe a lot in like mantras, getting in your head, visualizing what you want, visualizing yourself doing things correctly. I believe in that. I think that's also just as strong, if not stronger than hypnosis. I find myself thinking about Joe Rogan's odd demeanor during your episode quite often as you spend 30 minutes on the dogma of science. Anything you want to clear up? Why do you think Joe was acting so weird? That's from Brandon Weber. Well, honestly, I didn't think he was acting so weird. Honestly, I think maybe it was a topic is maybe just not as familiar with. I didn't think he was acting so weird. I was invited to do a recap of that episode. I honestly haven't rewatched it. I hear so much about it. I have not rewatched it. But somebody did ask me, one channel, I know I get a lot of requests to do podcasts. Some channel asked me to do a breakdown of it. Like basically we would do a reaction video to that video, to my podcast, my first podcast with Joe Rogan. I'm willing to do it, and I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. But I don't remember him being too weird. I remember us having a good discussion. But again, that was many years ago. This is from Rami. Salam, coach. Hope all is well with you. I've watched many of your videos. I understand how you logically conclude there is one God, but you haven't spoken about why you believe in revelation. Please make a vid on this soon. That's from Rami. Well, Rami, that's an interesting question. David Hume said it best. He said, look, revelation is first-person experience for that one person getting revelation, and it's second-person experience for us. Well, here's the thing. What I believe in is natural religion. So if I were to read a revelation or scripture, it would have to be in harmony with my natural religion. Okay, it would have to be in harmony with my natural religion. And that's what I believe the Quran does. If you understand what the message of the Quran is also telling you that. The Quran says, look, it has an argument. It says, Abraham was on the right path before scripture. That means he had a fitra. Islam is the religion of the fitra, this natural inborn religion. Okay. You're born with a religion, rediscover it. That's why the Quran calls itself the reminder. What's it reminding you of? Okay, it's reminding you of the fitra. You have to go through a discovery of the fitra. Now, this is not my opinion. This is the opinion of many great thinkers, such as Ibn Tufayl and, of course, Imam Ghazali. Okay, many great thinkers. Ibn Taymiyyah, all of them, actually, unanimously, once you get to the higher-ups, they all come to this conclusion that the natural religion must be a mirror of the revelation. The revelation is just to help you discover that, and after that you're like, hey, I'm now I've understood what my essence is. This is it. At the end of the day, it's all about understanding your essence, the essence of a human being. This is why Judaism and Islam, the one friction point they always have with Christianity, if you look at the greatest scholars of Judaism and Islam, the one friction point is that Christianity took the Abrahamic faith and made it historical. Okay, so Paul, when he wrote the Bible, he said, if Jesus didn't die and raise from the dead, your faith is in vain. Paul is saying, look, if this historical event, not your natural religion, forget your natural religion here for a second. If this historical event did not happen, forget Christianity. He's saying this there's no other way to interpret this. Okay, everybody agrees that this is what he means. There's no majority of people or even a small sect of people that say no, that's not what he meant. No, they all unanimously agree. Don't take my opinion for this. Ask the Christian scholars. They'll tell you, look, Paul is saying if this didn't happen, if this event did not happen, Christianity is in vain. All your prayers, everything, forget about it. Okay, Paul is making the religion now about history. Now, in philosophy, if you guys out there study philosophy, you know that the most certain fact is an intuitive fact, direct experience. Then it's a deductive fact, a mathematical fact, an analytical fact. Okay. Then slightly weaker is an inductive fact, a scientific fact. Okay, it's not the equivalent of math or intuition. And then third, the lowest, the weakest, the one we're most unsure of is historical facts. Historical facts could always be brought into question. Historical facts could always be reinterpreted. There's always a revisionist. There's always revisionist history. Like, for instance, if I asked you, what happened to JFK? Well, you know what? In JFK's death, hold on one second. I'm getting a knock on the door. Come in. Hello. Never mind. Okay, sorry. I thought I heard a knock on the door. What was I saying? Okay, JFK, a historical death, something that happened in history. How many shooters were there? They're not sure. How many shots fired? 2, 3. We're not sure. There's a single double shot theory, triple shot theory. They thought a guy with the umbrella. There was a mysterious guy. Remember, there was a grassy knoll. It was a sunny day. They had video of a guy holding an umbrella. Then they're like, hey, maybe the guy used the umbrella to shoot JFK, or at least to fire at him. So many theories, so many of them debunked, so many of them revised, so many of them revived. Then they found a perfectly intact bullet on JFK's gurney. Like, so many questions. Nobody is sure exactly what happened. Why? It's not an experiment we can run again. Maybe in the distant future, we're going to have a way to travel back in time and we can go and witness it for ourselves and run experiments on what happened to JFK. Maybe. It's not logically impossible. But it seems like we're very far from that. What happened that day with JFK? There were cameras. There were countless eyewitnesses. There were recordings. There were non-stop. Like, we had modern science at hand. And we still don't know what happened to JFK. We still don't know how he was assassinated exactly. Some people don't even think it was Lee Harvey Oswald that killed him. There are an abundance of theories. And that was a modern day occurrence. Now you're telling me something 2,000 years ago, I have to be certain about it? And we'd have to see, why do they have these claims? Okay, so if you say Jesus died and resurrected, who told you this? Who told you? Well, you're gonna have to go to Mark, Matthew, Luke, and John. We asked them who wrote Mark. The scholars, not me, okay? Me, I'm a layman. I'm not a scholar. But they'll say, look, the book is anonymous. So it's an anonymous source. When was it? Was this an eyewitness? Was Mark an eyewitness? No, Mark was not an eyewitness, they say. Because in the book of Mark, it says that the 12 fled. The 12 were not at the crucifixion. So the guy, he was not even there to see it. No, he was not. They alleged that Mary and Mary Magdalene were there. And the book of Mark, for those who don't know, the Christian scholars say it's the most important. It's actually the oldest gospel. The other ones were built on it. Okay, so really, if you have Mark, Matthew copied Mark. 55% of Mark is in Matthew. Matthew is a longer gospel than Mark. Okay, normally when you add things, they say, okay, that might have been added later because why is it not in the original? Okay, so Matthew kind of corrects Mark. There's some geographical issues they differ in, and some people say that Matthew corrected Mark's. Scholars, again, not me, guys. Scholars, Christian scholars say some ideas were corrected, some ideas were changed, but the core of Matthew comes from Mark. Now, if Matthew was an eyewitness, why would he need to copy Mark? Because don't forget, Jesus' disciples, none of them are named Mark. They believe it may be Jean-Marc, a follower of John, an apprentice of John. One of the disciples named John, he had an apprentice, a hanger-on, somebody who followed him around and maybe took his teachings. They say Jean-Marc may be the author of Mark, but we don't know that for a fact. That's their best guesstimate. Okay. So now they say, okay, well, if Matthew was an eyewitness, why would he copy from Mark? Why wouldn't he just tell his version? And we know for a fact it's a word-for-word copy because they're written in Greek and the copying is identical. There's no difference of opinion on this, guys. I would tell you, okay? 99% of Christian scholars will tell you, look, Matthew took Mark as a source. Word-for-word copy. Okay? So the original gospel, the Mark gospel, this was not an eyewitness event. So this is what makes the difficulty. This is why we always tell, it's very hard to prove what happened in the past. So we don't base our faiths on the past in Islam and in Judaism. Because if you read the Quran always says, you wouldn't have known what happened in the past unless it was informed to you. You're not a witness to this. It says it repeatedly. The Quran is always telling you to find your natural religion. Now, look, I've read the gospel. I know the gospels quite well. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, I've read them all. Okay, I've read the Gospels out of interest. Okay, I'm not Christian, but out of interest. And out of all the Abrahamic faiths, I like to know everything about all the Abrahamic faiths. And I'll tell you something. If you read what Jesus says, he says in the Gospel, he says, you won't ever enter the kingdom of heaven unless you are born again. Now, what does it mean, born again? Okay, now we have a vast amount of difference of opinion. Vast amounts. Okay, but he never says, look, you won't enter the kingdom of heaven if you don't believe in what's about to happen. He never says that. He says, until you're born again. What does it mean, born again? Well, if you rediscover your fitra in Islam, in Christianity, in Judaism, and in what Jesus is saying, in my opinion, you're born with a natural belief in God. Now, this is a very, very interesting discussion in philosophy. Are you born with innate beliefs? We have a huge camp that says yes and a huge camp that says no. John Locke, no. You're born tabula rasa. You're born a blank slate, a white sheet of paper. Socrates, Plato, Descartes, of course, all the Muslim philosophers, every single one of them, you're born with the idea of God. You're born with it. It's over. And we could prove it to you. And we have 100 arguments. I'm one of them. Okay, I believe in intuition. I believe you're born with the idea of God. This idea is inborn and innate. I think that's what is saying in the gospel. When you reconnect with your innate belief, because when you were born, right, when you're fresh out of the oven, you have no ego. You haven't had any sensory experience. Your senses are dull. Your vision, your taste, everything is dull. You're not feeling, you don't even know where you are. All you have is the state of oneness. You don't even know who you are. You don't say, hey, I'm a baby born in the world. You have no concept of this. You're born with only this unique experience. It's the fitra. It's this one, the idea of oneness. It's an experience. It's not logically deducible. Then after that, you develop an ego. After the age of 1, the ego, the I'm separate from you, starts to develop. Okay, in psychology, this is what they have. Okay, and by the way, psychology also agrees. Modern day psychology agrees you're born with innate ideas because they test babies. Okay, so they have this really weird test that you probably have never heard of. Okay, but a very interesting fact: Socrates believed that we're born with mathematics in our mind. Okay, so he takes in the book of Meno, he takes a slave boy and he starts questioning the slave boy. And the slave boy, he understands logic, even though he's unschooled, completely unschooled. He understands that contradictions don't make sense and things have to add up. He understands the fundamentals of mathematics. And Socrates is there, look, it's already in his head. And philosophers, we debated about this for a long time. And then in psychology, they've done some very interesting experiments with newborn babies and sliding curtains. Okay, so you have this curtain. And they slide the curtain up and the babies see one object. Okay, let's call it a little statue. They see a statue. Okay, it's looks like a bowling pin. And then they lower the curtain and they take another statue and they put it on the other side of the curtain. So now the baby's going to expect to see 2 bowling pins or statues. When they lift the curtain and he sees 2 bowling pins, no surprise, he looks away. The baby's not interested. They repeat the experiment now. They put a bowling pin. They show the child there's a bowling pin there. They lower the curtain. They add a second bowling pin. And now when they raise the curtain, there's only 1 bowling pin or no bowling pins. The child is expecting, remember, there's an infant child. He's expecting to see two bowling pins. Now he sees none or 1. Okay, when they repeat the experiment, there's some variety to it. I read this many years ago, so I don't remember exactly the details. But now the children are looking longer because they can track their eyes, right? They're looking where are the pins that are supposed to be there. They had presupposed that the pins will be there because they saw 1 pin move to another side. Now they deduce, again, this is it's a deduction. It's not proof, but the child is looking, let's say 35% longer, 40%. He's bewildered. So they're born with a type of logic. They're born with an expectation. It shouldn't, if you understand the working bolts of logic, if John Locke was right and we're totally a blank slate, we'd have to learn mathematics. We'd have to learn that if you add 1 thing to another, it'll be 2. And that if you come in the world with a blank slate and add 1 thing to another and it adds 0, it shouldn't make any difference to you if you're truly born a blank slate, okay? You might not understand it, but take my word for it. Philosophers, we all agree on this, okay? If you are truly born tabula rasa, I could trick you into believing 1 + 1 = 5 if you are truly born a tabula rasa. Tabula rasa means a blank sheet of paper. I could put one apple into a basket, add another apple, and some way always like fool you and add 3 more apples, and then always show you the result is 5, and you would think, hey, of course, it makes sense. But this is not the case. When we try to fool infant minds, they know it's wrong. Something is wrong. They start to look closer. How could this doesn't make sense? They're bewildered. So that's a really good evidence to show that we're born with reason, logic. We're born with innate ideas. Okay, now this has all sorts of implications, which I won't get into here. But my natural religion has to reflect the revelation. That's how we know. It's a harmonious conjunction. If something is disharmonious, if you bring me something that's eclectic, a composition, I have to reject it. It's not what I'm inborn. I can't verify it. I can only verify what I'm born with. Are we born with some kind of innate belief? I believe so. Now, here's the other thing. A lot of people are not going to be able to connect with your innate belief, and that's just a question. It's not a question of logic. It's a question of state of mind. And you might not know this, but the human being's mind can shift dramatically. You know, I'm reading this book, actually. It's quite interesting. Let me tell you the title of this book. The author it's a book on LSD. Okay, let me tell you the name. I don't want to misquote the title. Let me see here. It's one of my audiobooks here. It's a really, really good book. Interesting book. Just give me 1 second. Okay, it's called LSD and the Mind of the Universe by Christopher Bach. LSD and the Mind of the Universe and the Mind of the Universe. Very interesting book. The guy takes LSD. He does it in a controlled environment. He's a scientist himself, and he's experimenting on the human brain and LSD. And he has all of these incredible, amazing experiences. You have to read the book. I didn't get too far in the book just yet. One of them threw me in for a loop a little bit because he started feeling like he's on LSD, and he's turned himself into a woman now, and it's just kind of turned me off. I got to be honest with you guys, okay? I know a lot of you guys are going to be like, Coach, you're so close-minded or whatnot. But I disconnected. My mind just kind of disconnected. I'm not that open. I'm not that evolved, guys. I'm not that progressive. You know, I know you guys are so far ahead of me. I just couldn't do it. I'm probably just going to skip that chapter and see what other finding he has. But the only reason I have an interest in that is because not that I've ever done LSD, or I never plan on doing it. Okay, but mystical experiences are very similar to people on LSD. I don't know why. I'm interested in that. How come there's this parallel? That's, again, something I'm going to explore in the future. Okay, guys, we are an hour, 23 minutes in. Another fun episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I'm going to do a few more because there's a few more super chats in here. Hey, Coach, I've started boxing. Recently, my hands are very slow. What can I do to increase the speed or make up for the lack of speed in my hands? What type of training should I do? That's from Abdul Wahid Rafiki. Honestly, I'm a big believer in shadow boxing. I believe it's about loosening up, doing high reps, and your body will coordinate which muscles to relax, which muscles to explode. The other thing, I would include plyometrics into my system. Are you doing plyometrics once to twice a week? If the answer is no, you should incorporate low-impact plyometrics. Chris Gamel, can you explain how the UFC fighter contracts work and why the fighters sometimes want more pay? They did not negotiate fighter pay on their contract. That's from Chris Gamal. That's a good question. You know, it's a point I always bring up. People always ask me, why haven't you ever fought in UFC? Well, you know what? I once told them what I would fight for, and they thought it was too much, so I didn't fight. I agree with you. You know, you signed that contract. You agreed to that amount. I think what happens is once they sign a contract and they see how much work and sacrifice it takes to fight in UFC, they realize, hey, now that I know, and of course they fought before, but when people get in UFC, they take things to the next level. They start investing. They start bringing in training partners. They start doing more, and they realize, hey, you know what? This is not very financially feasible. And then they hear some guy got a better contract than them. Why? Because maybe he gets more views or whatnot. But you don't care. You beat that guy, or you beat a guy that he lost to, or whatever. You feel you deserve more. So there's 1,001 reasons why fighters will think they deserve more after signing. Okay. I would love to see fighters make millions of dollars. Honestly, I wish the sport would be. I think the sport is on the way of being bigger, and I think we're going to see that. You know, first fight UFC, it's going to happen. First fight UFC, the guy's already making $1 million. It's going to happen, guys. I'm telling you, like it happened in boxing. A guy goes from amateur, signs a pro bout, it's already $1 million. Okay, it's very rare, but he's already got not $1 million fight, but $1 million contract. Okay, it's gonna happen. UFC. A guy's gonna go from amateur to pro, and then from pro into UFC, and his first contract in UFC is gonna be worth millions. Why? Because he's gonna have built a following, a name. He's gonna be somebody who's really done something special. Okay, guys, we're rounding up towards the end of this episode. Let's do one or two more and finish off on a high note, and let's wrap it up. Man can coach how it's like to train Khabib and others. Is the hype real about Khabib? Question mark. Man can, I think what you're trying to say is, how is it like? What was it like training with Khabib, and is the hype real? Yes, the hype is 100% real. I got to hang out, like I mentioned in the last podcast. I got to hang out with Khabib in my visit to Las Vegas. I got to work out with him 2 times for 2 days, I should say. And Khabib's the real deal, man. He's a beast in the practice room. He's a monster. He's super impressive. I didn't get a chance to roll with him, but honestly, I could just see how great he is. You know, he's phenomenal. He's arguably the greatest fighter of all time. I'm highly impressed with Khabib, and I'm a huge fan. Another super chat here. Coach, thoughts on dietary supplements? Thank you for creating great content and humbly sharing your knowledge. I'm a huge fan. That's from Nir Ben Porat. Well, thank you, Porat. That's very nice of you. I do take supplements. Some dietitians tell me, look, it's not worth it. You're wasting your money. I totally disagree. I don't think, like today, look, today I came home. I had to do this podcast and I was in a rush. I had to eat. What did I eat? I ate fool. Fool is like type of beans, like a Lebanese kind of breakfast. And I put 2 eggs in there. Is that a perfect nutritional meal? No. I didn't have time to go to the grocery store. I didn't have time to do this and that. So I had to throw a meal together. Well, guess what? Later today, I need more protein. I know I need more protein. I know I need more supplements in my body. You know, some BCAAs, because I trained hard this morning, guys. I killed it this morning. I really killed it. I trained hard this morning. I weighed myself today. I'm overweight. You know, I'm a bit overweight right now. I have to lose a few pounds. And I lost in my workout. I lost 5 pounds. I lost 5 pounds. But think about that. Think about how much weight that is. Go and train for 2 hours and lose 5 pounds. It's not the hardest thing in the world, but it's still a lot. You need to replenish all that. That's a lot of material. Okay, you're chewing through your body. You need to feed it the right fuels. So I feel that I recover better when I take supplements. Now, do I take supplements all the time? No. Do I take them regularly? Yes. I cycle all my supplements. And whenever I'm feeling burnt out or trashed, or my training is just taking a toll on my system, I start reaching for my smoothies and I load them with supplements. And for some reason, I feel better. Some people tell me, no, it's just me. It's not true. But then again, you get other dietitians that say you might have been missing this one thing and you don't know, and you're missing such a small amount of it, but it makes a difference if your body doesn't have it. I really believe if you're training at an intense level, you need supplements. You can't just eat regular food. You won't get enough. You won't be training at your best. Okay. Now that's just my own personal experience. I'm not basing that on a study. I think that if you're training like mom and dad workouts, you don't need supplements. Just eat regular food. You're okay. But listen, I went today. I trained. I lost like 5 pounds, and also that 5 pounds was after I ate. I weighed myself. I was 5 pounds lighter, and that's after I'd eaten. So I'm really like, I probably lost like 6-7 pounds in practice. And okay, a lot of it was because I overate on the weekend and I'm bloated. Okay, that's the truth. Okay, a lot of it was just water. It's not fat. I'm not saying I lost fat. Don't misquote me here. But that's a lot of liquid to replenish and minerals and vitamins and whatnot. I don't know what my body needs. So I just play it safe. I have a bunch of supplements. I reach into them. I take them. And if I don't, I'll be honest with you guys, I feel it down after a while. After 4 or 5 weeks of training, I start feeling like sluggish. Okay, I know my body. I need 2-3 days of really easy training. And if I supplement, I'll feel good right away. I feel much better right away. I do it all the time. I make my smoothie with the spinach and the berries and protein and BCAAs and creatine. And I'll make a cocktail, a crazy cocktail. And I'll chuck it down. I'll do that for 1 or 2 days. I feel amazing. I feel my body bounce right back. I'm a big believer in nutrition. I don't care what the science says. They haven't figured it out. In my opinion, they just haven't figured it out. Supplements work. You know, it's just food. You got to take the best supplements, natural supplements. But you're not always going to have the perfect amount of protein. I'll tell you something, guys. I went on last year at this time, I was being very, very careful with the amount of protein I take. I was taking more protein than usual, and I swear I put on muscle. And it's true what they say. You have to have the adequate amount of protein, 0.8 grams per pound of body weight. And some studies, I read studies, I was researching it. One study said 1.5 grams of protein for every pound of body weight. They found an even greater increase in recovery and muscle building. Here's the one thing I'm worried about, because sometimes I train so much endurance, I lose a little muscle. So I got really worried about it. I started not lifting too much more. Yes, I do lift a little bit, but I find myself being less motivated to lift. I'm just so bored of lifting. And when I tell you I lift, I don't lift much. Okay, I'm not doing a lifting routine. I'll just do a few deadlifts here and there. I'll squeeze them in after practice, but I'm not a big lover of lifting. I'd much rather be wrestling, grappling, and boxing or whatnot. But when I do control my protein, and I'm cautious with my protein. Like right now, I'm gonna go have a couple of lettuce burgers, okay, just to get a little more protein. I do feel like I gain muscle. I look in the mirror every day. I keep control of my my body composition every day. I look in the mirror, and when I'm on my weight cuts, I take a picture of my chest and my body every day, just to see, is my weight going down and my muscle going up. I don't want my weight going down and my muscle going down. That's really no good. Okay, no bueno, because it takes a lot of time and energy in the gym to build muscle. Okay, you got to be losing weight 1 or 2 pounds a week and gaining a little bit of muscle. The only way you can tell, guys, is, okay, you can do it with body fat composition, but that's just kind of like your scale is just kind of guesstimating. You got to look in the mirror. You got to look in the mirror and see, is my definition better or less? Is my body fading, or is it more diced than before? Okay. The only way you can figure that out, in my opinion, the best way is to eyeball it. Look in the mirror every day. Make sure that your muscles are not fading, because you can shoot yourself in the foot by lowering your calories too much. You're losing muscle and fat. You're not just losing fat. I want to lower my calories 10-15%. I don't want to do a drastic dip in calorie. Okay. So this is very important, because if you burn muscle, guys, it's not impossible to put back on. I don't want to make it sound super difficult, but it's not easy to put back on. Don't burn your hard-earned muscle. Okay, be very careful with that. Okay, we got another super chat. Do you ever feel like there isn't enough time with everything you want to learn and explore? We'll visit Tristar soon and take a photo now that Montreal is opening again slowly. Anthony Pham, I look forward to your visit, my friend. And look, it's all about prioritization. Excuse me. One of the greatest books, I'm not going to get into it because I've talked about it in the past, is First Things First by Stephen R. Covey. Please read that book. It's a life-changing book. It's a life-changing book. Read First Things First. The man is a genius. Okay. And he's passed away as well. So his material is still living on. I mean, he's a very, very, very successful writer. Okay, guys, listen, I want you guys to like, share, and comment as always. But please, give me some ideas of what other topics you want to see me cover. Today, I did a reaction to Babies. I don't know if you guys like that kind of stuff, but I think I could do a lot of reaction videos on different topics like that. Let me know if you're interested. I am planning to do my reaction video for Harris's discussion with Jordan Peterson on truth. That is coming down the pipeline. Expect it sometime next month, okay? But that is definitely coming down the pipeline. I am traveling for a few fights right now, so I won't be able to do it. But when I get back, I plan to buckle down and do it. And I also have a new instructional coming out very shortly. As soon as I get back, I'm going to post it up online. It's on back control. I promise you guys it's going to be an amazing video. But check out my other videos on jujiclub.com. Make sure to pick up a video on jujiclub.com. You guys are going to love it, okay? Yo, miss you and Neil. That's from Thierry. Hey, it's Thierry Saint-Pierre. Yes, my friend, we're back open. That's one of my Tristar gym members. Come on back in the gym, guys. Tristar gym is now open with COVID restrictions. Of course, we're being good boys. We're following all the rules, but the gym is back open and we are training again. That's the important part. Okay, guys, thank you all for tuning in, and I look forward to our next episode. Thank you.